Hey, funny boy.
Hey, Chiz.
How you doing?
Hi. Hey, Rich. How are you?
Good, my man.
How's everything?
Everything's all right. Hey, listen. You're being the MC tonight. You're gonna be saying all these funny things about my brother.
Yeah. All in jest.
I need you to write me some jokes for my brother so he can get back at you.
Oh, Chiz. How's that gonna look? I'm gonna walk over and hand Frank a bunch of jokes at his roast to help him out?
Yeah, that's exactly what you're gonna do.
I don't know what people think about that.
Got an idea. Why don't we tape the jokes? There's no bathroom in here. Underneath the commode, we'll tape it for him.
Sounds like a good idea, but let me tell you something. My brother better not walk out of that bathroom with just his dick in his hands.
We're here tonight, and let me just tell you, this is a dream come true for any comedian. to play the main room in the senior building, it's a little overwhelming. It's like a kid from New York playing the Apollo. And yes, we are here to roast Frankie Bruno tonight, former Golden Bear student athlete. However, during my research for this roast, I uncovered some very disturbing information. And by the end of this evening, I intend to prove, once and for all, the existence of the Pizzola Mafia. That shadowy organization that has ruled this town with an iron fist for decades. But first, I'd like to welcome Frank and his family. His lovely wife, Dorothy, has been married 20 years. All three Vuno boys were star football players for Lyndhurst High School. Mr. Vuno has been with the Booster Club since I can remember. And, you know, he's one of those special guys that made growing up in this town such a great experience. There was an article in the paper recently that ranked Lyndhurst 6th in the state for people that remain in this town their whole lives. It's that strong bond of family ties that make it that way. Frank can live anywhere in the world, anywhere, but he chooses to live in Lyndhurst. And you know what? Where else on a Saturday morning can you bet Notre Dame in the under and still get a $10 hot call? Mike the Dog. Chizzy and the Shoe, Sammy Bamboo and Babaloo too. Squeaky, Leaky, Iggy and Yoke. These are the names of Lyndhurst folk. Fat Sal, Fat Sat, Footer and Foffy, Idiot Duck, Jake the Ray, Junior Baboosh, George Lumber. I'm not making this up. These are real people. Chizzy Vuno. Huh? The older brother from hell. It was always an adventure going to 7-Eleven Meyer to call for Frank as a young boy. First you had to pay your respects at the first floor security office there in Elsie. And then as you're walking up those stairs, you're praying Chizzy's not home. Ralph Jr. was the nicest guy in the world. But Chizzy was living the thug life before it was popular. If Chizzy answered that door, he pulled you in, got you in a headlock, gave you the scaramouche, and followed that up with a nipple twist and a backhand. handshake. This painful greeting continued well into my 40s. Often in front of my wife and children. You know, your parents are going to be there. I'm going to go easy. No, you can't go easy. Get up there and roast them. I want to see him squirm. I want you to hammer him. I said, Chiz, why don't you come up and roast him too? He goes, oh, I can't. I live next door. I got to tip my hat to Frank, though, for agreeing to be roasted. He doesn't need this. He's an educated man. He's a religious man, family man. Doesn't even have a gumad. What successful middle-aged Italian American doesn't have a gumad? You can see the crowd here tonight. It's not filled with the usual ex-jocks looking for some cheap, neat, bottomless pitchers of beer. Except for that table back there where my brother's sitting. It's a veritable who's who in Lyndhurst. Anybody who's anybody is here tonight. Mayor Guider was here, one of Frank's first coaches of the refined product dynasty. Right? Never lost a game. I don't think they even scored upon. Tommy Longo. Every kid's idol growing up in this town. Now, he looks younger than the rest of us. My father used to make me do that when we watched Notre Dame games on a Saturday. If your name came on the screen. It's got to be a tough night for Tommy Shooter. Yeah, Queen of Peace guy hosting a Hall of Fame, Lyndhurst Hall of Fame roast. And Tommy's sitting on the ice cream freezer. And he sees me, hey Herman, what school are you going to? I said, Queen of Peace. Ah, QP. There's Paradise. QPHS, Court of Pound Horseshit. I went there for the education. Then I went on to Ramapo. Frank went to Lyndhurst and went to Princeton. Oh, we come here not to praise Frankie Bruno tonight, but to bury him. And don't think because your parents are here, things aren't going to get ugly. They will. But just a word of caution. 1968, me and Frank are walking from Stuyvesant Avenue in the Hook to Sportland, which was a golf, driving range, and batting cages where Giant Stadium is. This is before the days when your parents drove you everywhere. As we're walking, we reach the crest of Guinea Hill. And Frank stops and looks out over the vast marshland. 12 years old, he turns to me and says, Herm, someday this will be the most valuable real estate in North America. 12 years old. So I say, hey, you think we can sneak into the Holiday Inn pool? And he just gave me one of those looks that, you know, you're just not up there with him. All I saw was meadowlands and garbage dumps. But like the old Barney commercial says, even then he knew. He was not a man of vision, he was a child of vision. However, as you'll see, that vision soon begins to fade. So with energy like a shooting star, he had the body of a Greek god, the speed and heart of a lion. I asked for some biography notes, and this is what he gives me. The only thing bigger than Frankie's ego is his hat size. If you had an older brother in this town, people knew who you were, and they would compare you to your older brothers. But Frank's brothers were a little older and a lot tougher. Frank was a prima donna quarterback who wore white spikes, idolized Joe Namath, and fancied himself an artist. So people compared him to other famous brother acts. In football, they said he had Larry Gleason's arm and Warren's speed. In basketball, he had Joe Colazzi's confidence and Roy's good looks. Go, baby, go. Speaking of famous brother accents, we had wanted to have one of the flying Shiganoots brothers up here, George Schifano. He injured his knee doing a song and dance routine down in Boca. As you know, George was voted Lyndhurst's most eligible bachelor 16 years in a row. And we wish him Godspeed. accepted to Princeton University, where he will play football. Now, here's where Frank and I went our separate ways for a while. Princeton had this policy: if you didn't break 800 on your college boards, you couldn't even visit the campus. So I'm going to have to turn the mic over to one of Frank's old roommates, the Major, that old junk bond dealer from Wall Street, Matt Gourlay.
Connecticut. I feel right at home right now. I had a computer set up, and it's Chizzy to set up for me. And it says, we don't have mimeograph machines here. Forget about it. I never come to New Jersey without looking for Jimmy Hoffa. Frank, myself, and this guy here would never make the cut at all. He's one of the dorks at college, except he was just elected governor of Maryland, beat out Kennedy Townsend, so we put him in the cut here. Frank, as you can all see in the picture, was exceedingly handsome. Some of the college said this guy is like unbelievable. Travolta, whoever, name it, whatever. Exceedingly handsome, incredible. What the hell happened? I'm going to be, I think, a little more serious because my stuff isn't funny. I'm really impressed that you're serving in the district attorney's office of New Jersey. To me, it's like something like Joe Pesci serving as the head of the Las Vegas gaming casino. I'm going to read, if you don't mind. It's my great privilege tonight to congratulate Frank for being inducted into the. Oh, sorry. Let's see. The whole entire Bruno family's been inducted into the Members Hall of Fame. Do me a favor. All males ages 30 to 50 who's not inducted into the Members Hall, just stand. Anyone here tonight who's not going to be inducted? Maybe next year. It's my undertaking this evening to recount the period, the years 1974 through 78, whereupon Frank commenced his pursuit of erudition and knowledge of the highest echelon, aka his college years. The story that I'll begin with, and one that Frank often tells, is how he and I first met. It was an encounter that would produce a lifelong friendship. I was sitting on a plane in first class on the way up to Hanover, New Hampshire. It was not only the first time that I was in first class, but the first time I was ever on an airplane. And in walks a guy looks like John Travolta in pump shoes, black silk turtleneck, and proceeds to sit down next to me. At the time, we were both being recruited to Dartmouth to play football. Again, it was our first time on an airplane. The stewardess comes by, now flight attendant, and asks us if we'd like a drink. And like the two buffoons in the movie Made, we ask how much. They respond, of course, everything in first class is free. So I shrug and order a double shivers on the rocks. And she looks at Frankie, who responds, double them up. Immediately, I knew there was something about this guy that I really liked. After several cocktails and spirited conversation, we planed gingerly down the steps and on to meet the coach at Dartmouth. Incidentally, it was 9:15 in the morning. We're 17 years old and we're hammered. The coach pairs us up with two big corn-fed boys from Iowa. And on a Saturday night, they take us to a barn to partake in a Bible reading session. The barn's complete, kid you not, with farm-like objects, sheep, the whole works. Forgive us, Rosie, but we had prayed on the plane on the way up, so we didn't stay. And so we looked at each other knowing that we were just blocks away from Delta House. Actually, it was the inspiration for the movie Animal House. And so we decided to explore Fraternity Roast, just blocks away. And although we had a fantastic time there at Dartmouth, their motto, where men are men and sheep run scared, persuaded us to pursue an Ivy League education in a more populated cosmopolitan environment. Frank called me up after we had been back from Dartmouth and asked me if we wanted to room together at Princeton. And he was trying to convince me, I think, because he said, Matt, there are two kinds of friends. Good friends, those who help you move, and Lyndhurst friends, the kind who help you move bodies. But Frank did choose old PU, even though he could have gone to UCLA, but it was 2 more letters he'd have to remember. Our roommates were immediately impressed with Frank's intellectual prowess. After he informed us that he was the only one of us who was being promoted as a university scholar, a highly coveted program combining academic rigor with artistic advancement. We dug a little deeper, however, into this university scholar program, and we learned that it was a curriculum promoted by an old ex-football coach and celebrated sculptor, Professor Joe Brown, who revealed the fact that all Frank was doing was molding clay while staring at naked models. Thankfully, he was able to assist me in enrolling in the class where we tasted wine, Professor Joe Brown played the mandolin, artists studied the nudes, and I made clay ashtrays. After having shared numerous forms of disciplinary probation, Frank, I'm still amazed at the fact that you actually did graduate. It was more amazing that you actually were offered employment after college. As we all know, Frank has a keen eye for fashion. He showed up at his initial interview at Young and Rubicon wearing a completely color-coordinated outfit, which happened to be an all-gray leisure suit. Picture 6'3", 3 inch, 230 pounds. Before it was 6'2", back in college he was 6'3". Vito, as his nickname was at college, showing up wearing a matching gray shirt, gray tie, gray silk socks, and gray shoes. He taught us how to blow dry our hair and how to dress accordingly. I was 0 for 17 on my Wall Street interviews, and on one occasion, Frank and I were miraculously had the rejection letters in our mailboxes before we had gotten back to our rooms. Fortunately, an example of substance over style, Frank did land a coveted advertising job at Y&R. Proceeded as he brought out the pie to stack the double slices one on top of the other. I'm sure it's his style, I'm sure you taught him that. They consumed the entire pie in about 8 minutes. We all ate for free, and naturally the sign went down the next day. It was a great honor to have Frank's parents visit school often. They picked up his clothes, they dropped off his clean laundry, they delivered a weekly supply of frozen gravy. I had in parentheses, that's marinara for the Metagons out there, but I realized that was completely unnecessary. I looked in the program tonight and I saw the first 4 schmoes were 2 mix, a German and a Jew. And then we had 4 Italians going last. I had about a dozen jokes for a rip into Italians. I looked around the room and said, I think I'll just trash them. Many nights, late at night, Frank would take these chunks of frozen gravy, chip them off, heat them up in the hot plate, and dip in the Italian bread, etc. I look forward many times to Rosie's diner delivery down in college. It was a lot of fun. Much is said about Frank's loyalty to his hometown, but the truth be known, he couldn't stand to be far away from his parents, who still deliver his gravy meatballs and wine. Freshman year, Frank showed up at football camp with a repaired knee and an injury that he had from high school, and found that he was in the midst of 9 competing quarterbacks. The coach asked him to move to the tight end position and learn to catch and block. I immediately noticed that he had stenciled on his cleats TGIF, and so I asked Frank, I said, thank God it's Friday, and he said, no, Matt, it reminds me that the toe goes in first. Originally at the bottom of the depth charts, Frank never thought of giving up. An extraordinary example of constancy and dedication to purpose, he toiled relentlessly and ultimately became a starter. In his senior year, Frank was awarded the McPhee Trophy at Princeton, an award given to the athlete that best exemplifies character, courage, and persistence. Obviously, you couldn't catch with the crowd. Frank is a man of the most interesting contradictions. He is both self-depreciating and proud of his family, friends, and hometown. He's a skilled cook, and most accomplished figures of our time. You know, I thought about Thoreau and Churchill, and in Frankie's case, maybe Yogi Berra. But I was actually surprised to learn that the entirety of their remarks reference to words like friendship and friends were cynical and shallow. And so I was stalled, and I started to reflect on the 29 years that Frank and I had been friends in almost every college adventure, and throughout our lives, in the good times, the tough times, and even the roughest times. Frank was right there by my side. And so, although it sounds simple, it's probably all that you'd ask for in a friend, to be right by your side. That's where he was.
But being the creative person that he is, he's not content. Now he wants to be a restaurateur. He goes partners with local businessman John Noddy. They decide to renovate the old train station on Stuyvesant Avenue and make a restaurant out of it. Here is where Frank shows the first signs of deteriorating vision. He names the restaurant Chokes. How do you name a restaurant Chokes? It's like opening a bar and calling it the Puke Bucket. Who wants to eat at a place called Chokes? In a further display of poor vision, he accepts the low bidder for the garbage container outside the restaurant. Wow. This prompts an irate phone call from his lifelong friend Joey Cutt. After some not-so-veiled threats, Bruno must place a call to the man I referred to earlier, Richard Pizzola, also known as Richie Gaboo. This matter has to be straightened out. A sit-down is arranged. And where else? Angelo's restaurant there. It's Bruno, Cut, Noddy, Pizzola, who also brings another famous pair of Lyndhurst brothers with him, Michael Dickey Di Nicola and Albert Anastasia Di Nicola, his cheap muscle. Well, they go over the extensive menu, and after 15 seconds, everybody orders Shrimp Angelo. Except Frank, who gets the oily-oily. Oily-oily-oily. Espresso can even be sipped. There is a Jersey carton container outside of Joe's, and it remained there when the place was renamed Jumbo's, then the Joke Factory, then the Stairway, and then ironically enough the Transit Lounge. It's had more names than the Poorhouse, or Bob's, or the Rattler. Hey, Wee Willie, you've seen them come and go, huh? By the advertising game and the shallowness of it, Frank yearns to return to his first love, Mike from 3 Acres. Now, it's a long story, Rose. He yearns to return to his first love, football. He submits his resume to NFL properties, but they're not exactly overwhelmed. But they hire him as a traveling salesman. He works out of the trunk of his car, which is parked at the foot of Marin Oval, right near Cousin Ben's hot dog truck. And he's got the trunk open, he's got all NFL jackets and hats. He's selling it right there in the lot. Yeah, things are looking bleak, but he has a brainstorm. He invents a combination, sweatpant, loungewear, and he calls it Zubaz. He designs each NFL team its own line and markets them specifically in Lyndhurst. Soon, and promote him to vice president in charge of licensing. Well, this is a double-edged sword. Because word spreads, and soon everybody in Lyndhurst has an idea for a product to license. If you want to put a giant logo on a lunchbox, you got to see Frank to get the license. So, 3 local businessmen approached Frank with the plans for huge plastic leaf bags designed to look like football helmets. You fill them with leaves, you put them on your front lawn on a Sunday afternoon, you support the hometown team. And during the week, the town comes, takes them away. So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. They incorporate themselves as Bagman Inc. And Frank gives them the nod. Right? Well, the boot hears this. He wants to wet his beak too. He calls Frank. He tells him he's stopping by his house with Dr. Paul Gasciello. A local entrepreneur, doctor of physiology and naturopathy, 2 degrees. Also the inventor of the Russian inhalation room. Right? Remember that? This was a man before his time. It was a sauna, and it had Vicks Vapor Rub melted on the rocks, so it smelled really like menthol. It had a red light bulb in there. It was a Russian inhalation. That guy was a genius, I swear to God. It gets better. The doc has an idea for the Doc Watch, which was a fake Rolex with an NFL team logo on it that measured your blood pressure and cholesterol level. God bless. So, 85% of NFL licenses are held by Lyndhurst residents. To make matters worse, Bagman Inc. goes belly up. The towns decide they're only going to pick up leaves if they're in paper biodegradable bags. Plastic bags. What was the vision on that? NFL Properties is getting disgusted with Uno's harebrained schemes and his unsavory friends. Later that year, Frank took a whole bunch of us out to the Super Bowl in LA. Must have been 15, 20 people. And on the morning of Super Bowl Sunday, we attend a big breakfast in front of a packed house. And Frank gives an inspirational talk about using your imagination and your vision and believing in yourself, turning your dream into reality. Live it, love it, dream it. The next morning, NFL gives him a severance package and lets him go. But he lets no grass grow under his feet. He takes the money from the severance package and forms his own company with 2 partners, Steve Rosner and Fred Freed. Together, they opened Integrated Sports International. And it was in the Metro Media Building, the top floor, right off Route 3, overlooking Giant Stadium. And if you look to the east, you saw the Manhattan skyline. It was a tremendous place, very impressive. They signed some big-name players to major endorsements. His vision was back, and things were good for several years. But then the travel started to get to him. His kids got older, he wanted to see them play sports, and he really wanted to concentrate on his golf game. Thought about joining the Pro Tour. Said he wanted out of the business. He would retire, play golf, and spend more time with the family. After 8 years with ISI, Frank is going to sell the business for about 15 large. Well, let's face it, this is economic boom time in the 90s, and 15 large, split 3 ways, really, it didn't go that far. Frank's going through a fortune, right, chasing his quest to wear the green jacket. He also finds that spending more time at home is not all it's cracked up to be. Apparently, his next-door neighbor builds a deck and then a fish pond and now a grotto. He plays Dean Martin songs all day long. Frank's old neighborhood, well, Frank's new neighborhood is starting to look like his old neighborhood. Chisholm's house is starting to look like the old Diamante house. Neighbor Joe Ferruza gets caught up in this Return to Your Roots campaign. He starts racing pigeons around there. Uno has had it. He wants So they open up a scaled-down sports agency and they call it 16W Marketing. And it sits right there, right to the right of the toll booths at interchange 16W on the turnpike. That little building in the shadows of the Metro Media building. And I'll be honest with you, business isn't good. Frank blames it on the HBO show, The Sopranos. Oh yeah, he's being stereotyped. He's an Italian-American, right? He lives in North Jersey. In fact, in the opening show, Tony threatens a guy and says, well, if you don't, it'll be a rainy night in Lyndhurst. You even have an Uncle Junior, right? And your nickname for the Princeton Tiger football team, Mitch?
Big pussy.
Very good. Big pussy. So you see, there are some similarities there. Now, I'm afraid that vision is on its way out. Nowadays, Frank sits in the stands at our daughter's basketball games, and every game, it seems, that cell phone goes off at about 4:30. And he answers it loud enough for everybody to hear. Hey, Boomer! Hey, what's happening, buddy? Oh, Peyton, how are you? It's never a guy named Joe or Bill, always one of those catchy names, you know? And people are sitting there, they're turning around, they know. Hey, I hope it really is Boomer. Just to cover any ground I may have missed. In Frank's professional career, I'd like to introduce his partner and former comedian from the High Hat in Bayonne, fellow Ramacution, Steve Rosner. Ralph is part of the worst defensive lines in Aggie history. The student body doubled the fighting brown stains. Mr. and Mrs. Vuno, you must be very proud. Really, one son to Princeton and one to Brown, and the other boy, where'd he go? Penn? State? State Penn? Ladies and gentlemen, Ralphie Vuno.
Boy, how do you follow that guy, huh? How you doing, everybody? Just anyway, here you got me, the middle child. You got Chizzy, you know, my old and mature brother. And then you got Frank. Okay. So, examples of some of the times in my life which proved to be the greatest confusion. You know, we'll go back. It's 17 years old. It's about 8 o'clock on a school night. You know, we're upstairs in the apartment. And here you got Chizzy. Comes in the door drunk as hell. Trying to crawl up the goddamn steps. And Elsie and my mother hysterical, screaming at him. I'm sitting there watching this routine. I got Frank, who's 8 years old. He's sitting next to me, painting President Lincoln and asking me what the fuck the colors of the beard should look like. These things happen. This is the truth. Look at this. You look at this. It's confusing. Or a few days from that, again, Chizzy's a senior in high school. It was report card day, which is always very interesting in our family. Chizzy's sitting down. He's all excited, man. He's happy as a pig in sheep. He's finally figured out a way to change those F's to D's. He's excited. My mom's not gonna pick this up. Frankie, he's sitting there, hysterical crying. You know why? Some goddamn teacher had the nerve to give him only one smiley face next to his S++. And you're trying to figure out where the hell do I fit into this routine here, you know? And Chizzy now, who's the less studious one, by a little bit, sleeps through the SATs. You know, he every once in a while would call me up. I'd be at work in New York City. Ralph, I got a paper due in 2 days. A paper for what? You know, a 10-page paper. On what? On sports or something. And he asked me to write the paper. Doesn't give me any books, no background, write a paper. So, okay, this one particular thing, I sit down. This is before computers, so you had to write this stuff out. And I write him a paper. He hands it in, and he gets an A. Okay. A number of years later, Frankie calls me up. He's at Princeton. And he asks if I can help him out with a paper. I said, hey, Frank, great, I got this paper, I gave it to Chiz. Chiz got an A, going for his master's. Hand it in. A couple of days later, Frank calls me up. Just been called down before the academic board for plagiarism. Spends the next year on probation, almost gets kicked out of school. Well, as it turns out, the intellectual one is on probation again when it comes at the end of his senior year and it's time to graduate. Anyway, he's on probation. He's not allowed to graduate with the rest of the class. We got Rosie and Ralph sitting here, all excited. We're going to go down and see Frankie graduate. Well, we can't disappoint Rosie and Ralph. So Frank gets his hands on some graduation gowns. And we head down to the ceremonies. So there's Frankie cutting in line as the graduates walk in. Waving and smiling. And he takes his seat. And we pulled it off. Set it. Rosie's looking through the program. I can't find Frankie's name. So Chizzy and I are frantic. We start scrambling through the book. We find his name way at the end under some football thing. We said, Rose, you can only put the name in once in the program. That's why we didn't list him with the graduates. She's all happy as hell. Frankie, you know, he goes on from being a tampon king at Young and Rubicon. For those who don't know it, that was his first account of Young and Rubicon, was tampons. He'd walk into his little cubicle and he had tampons all over the place. This is wild. But anyway, you. And soon he turns it into this little mini estate. You know, he's got a pool, entertainment room, a couple of spiral staircases, 70-foot kitchen, you know, all those little amenities that make a house a home. Oh, yeah, that's right. By the way, did I mention that, you know, quicker than that deer can shit in the woods, old country boy Chiz gives up his CB and beloved wild country and moves next door to that pool entertainment room? What happened to the country? Gives up his cowboy shirts and boots, and he loves those hand-me-down Armani suits. Not a bad trade-off. Anyway, back to this mini mansion that he has. You know, I'm gonna get on with this and getting serious here. I've been very lucky. You know that Chizzy and Frankie, as brothers, we've got different personalities, each and every one of us, and but we've remained close and very loyal to one another. It's not hard, with Rosie and Ralph showing the way. It was a very easy path to follow. Chizzy knows Frank, knows well. He's worked extremely hard to achieve success. But even more impressively, he's worked even harder to share it. That's the true definition of a successful man. Love you both, bros. God bless.
Thank you, Ralph. I know what you're thinking. With all the high-powered celebrity athletes Frank knows, you think we would have gotten Dan Marino with Jim Kelly and Phil Simms here tonight to say a few words. But when we inquired, they all said the same thing. Frank Bruno, is who by himself? We did get one telegram from Warren Moon, and I'll read it. Frank, I wish I could be there tonight to celebrate your special evening. Unfortunately, my neighbor's cat is sick. Let's forget about Frank Bruno, the athlete and businessman, for a while. Who will speak about Frank Bruno, the citizen? It cannot be Don Pizzola, who carries politicians and judges in his pocket like so many nickels and dimes. Frank turned away from that life. However, he does have the complete box set of Soprano DVDs and HBO on every TV in his house. But to speak about Citizen Bruno, get ready for the zany antics of the laughing mortician Lou Starr.
Frank Herman. Thank God you're here. I hate to be the only funny guy. You can't trust anybody with two first names. When Butchie Savidio called me some months ago and asked if I would roast Bruno, I said it would be my privilege and pleasure and honor to roast Chizzy Bruno. He's a sports icon. And he said, no, it's not Chizzy. I said, well, I remember Ralph. He was a couple of years behind me in school. He wasn't a half-bad athlete. He was part of that sophomore sensations with Villanova that they brought up in the middle of the baseball season. I recall him. And no, it's not Ralph. I said, well, Dorothy didn't go to school here. He said, no, it's Frank. I said, well, I'll have to let you know. But let's see what the groundhog does. And if he sees his shadow, you know, maybe that'll work. So that was too late. That's the middle of March. That wouldn't work. Then somebody said, well, how about the first Wednesday in March? They said, no, that's not going to work either. That's Ash Wednesday. Jimmy Carino said, I have to come up here with ashes on my head. It would ruin my whole image. So then he said, well, what about Lincoln's birthday? There's too many sales. The women on the committee won't come. But they didn't come anyway. So they said, well, how about President's Day? That's a good day. Everybody's off. Tommy Longo said, no, it's going to be 2 foot of snow that day, because he knows everything anyway. So Tommy Schubert says, well, how about we have it on February 29th? And no, Tommy, this is not a leap year. So then Butchie said, well, how about we do it on the 30th? Richie Pizzola said, that's no good, that's a Sunday night. For those of you who aren't from the area and don't know who I am, I used to be somebody. I was in elected office for 25 years, and Frank Kuna had the honor of running with me one time. That's it. I never lost an election. Frank Kuna did such a great job, we named the street after him. It was 7th Street. Came in 7th place, and only 5 get elected. I've took enough of your time. I feel for you, because after me, you're going to have to listen to a couple politicians and then Frank Kuno. So you may want to stand up and stretch for a few minutes. But what I just want to say in closing, as we say in my profession, may the wood from your casket be made of 100-year-old oak, and the acorn be planted this morning.
Take our seats. We had to give these people coffee. Running out. These people have got to have their coffee. Hey, Joey Malala. Sit down. Joey Malala, Joey Country's out of town. Mikey Pagano. Come on, take a seat. Joe Duffy. For the only Irishman in town. God bless him. Joe Duffy. You think it's easy growing up Irish in this town? How'd you like to grow up like Brett Rudnick, half Jewish, half Italian? He couldn't get it wholesale, he stole it. Hey, he used to go to confession, but he'd have his attorney with him. Lest we follow Friday of Sin, I believe you know Mr. Cohen here. I'm sorry, Brent, that just came over. I don't know where it came from. All right, this time I'd like to bring our roastee up so he can address these issues tonight. Otto, that wasn't your eye. All right, got my eye on you. All right, let's bring up the roastee. Man losing his vision.
How many fucking people in Lyndhurst actually wear these things? There you go, Mom. My first F word ever. I first have to ask Rosie for permission to curse tonight. Am I allowed? Okay. You know us Italian guys, man. We're deathly afraid of our mothers. So, I've had about 100 people ask me, how the hell did you get into this mess? You gotta be an absolute masochist to want to go up there and let people just roast your ass. So he sounds around a notice, and he says, the Lyndhurst Hall of Fame is considering honoring every goddamn team in the history of the school, including the golf team. Did anybody know Lyndhurst had a goddamn golf team? I mean, the golf team, the bowling team, the tennis team. One thing we are not in Lyndhurst are golfers, tennis players, and freaking bowlers. All right? We got about 3 pole locks. We got 1 Jew. Now, you know, God only knows who plays tennis. So, I mean, you know, so I call Richie Pizzola. First mistake. Hey, Rich, this really pisses me off. They got every team listed here. How many state championship football teams are there in Lyndhurst? I mean, we won a state championship in '73. How many teams have won a state championship? You don't freaking know. You have to go look it up. So Richie says, all right, Frank, don't worry, man. I'll talk to Butchie, I'll talk to the committee. At the next meeting, we'll bring it up, no problem. 2 weeks later, Richie calls me up, happy as a pig in shit. He says, no problem, Frank. said, wow, we're going to honor the 73 team, the football team, the state champions? He said, no, we're going to roast your ass. I said, how did we go from honoring the 73 state championship football team to roasting me? He goes, don't worry about it, it's all set up. I told you brother already. This is like my consigliere, you know? I said, Rich, I haven't eaten beef in 3 freaking years. We're gonna have a beef steak. This is like we had a beef steak on Good Friday. Right? So, then we turned and he says, no problem, I'll take care of it. We'll call Joseph's Place. Now, only in Lyndhurst can you get a meal catered by Joseph's Place that's owned by Carmine, where Luann does all the cooking. Unbelievable. No wonder I feel like freaking Rodney Dangerfield tonight. I had to call all these people up. My secretary, my wife, my brother. I had to call everybody up. Come to this, whatever it is. I don't know. Nobody could explain it. My secretary kept saying, Frank's being inducted in the Hall of Fame. No, I'm not being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Frank. No, I don't know freaking know. What are you congratulating me for? They're going to come and roast my ass. They're going to make fun of me, break my chops. I don't know what this night is all about. We're going to try and raise money. We're going to charge a whopping $30. We're going to raise all this money. Now, normally my partner and I, Steve, you heard him tonight, we normally pay him $1,000 a seat. We go to the Waldorf Astoria, we go to the Friars Club. Boomer's freaking tournament is like 30 grand and you don't get nothing, you know, for tonight, $30. You get a full meal, you get coffee, you got freaking Frankie Herman. Thursday night. Hey, Boom, how the hell are you? Stuck on the turnpike? Shit. Phil! Oh, we got a conference call. We got Phil, Danny. Hey, Herb, we got Phil, Danny. I got Steve Young on the line. They all want to say hello, but I don't know how to hook them up. Raj, what do you say? We've done that in a couple of meetings. That's one of our #1 recruiting tools. We always get a phone call from one of our guys in the middle of our presentations. You know, I've been getting my hair cut for 40 years from the same guy, Mike the barber. Anybody know Mike's last name? The barber, D-E-B-A-R-B-A, right? Mike the barber, right? Nobody knows his freaking last name. Talk about getting respect. How about the fact I'm the only goddamn person in my whole family that's not in the Hall of Fame? My brothers, my father, my wife's in the Pagoda Athletic Hall of Fame. We should have a hand for my wife, right? You know, that's like the first one. I'm still not in the Hall of Fame. I must have really sucked.
Keep trying.
Yeah, I'm trying, believe me. I really have been truly blessed, and having brothers like I do, you know, sets an incredible example and gives me inspiration for everything I do. So, well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I want to thank everybody. Again, my family, my friends. There are people here tonight. I'm sitting here a really long time. I don't know why the hell you came out, just to break my balls. There's business associates, clients, and I thank you all for coming out tonight.
The tribute really is. Here we are, 4 hours and 40 minutes later. We are in the Senior Center of Lyndhurst, and it is 20 minutes to 12. Never in the history of the Senior Center has there been this many people at this time of night. And that is a tribute to you. All your friends and family love you. And I hope you can put this on your wall. And every time you look at it, you think about this wonderful moment full of love and well wishes for a happy and healthy future. God bless you, Frank.